This is Veteran State of Mind. I'm your host, Geraint Jones, and we have an old mate of mine on the podcast today. But before we get to him, because he's not that important, I would like to talk to you about today's sponsor, Combat Fuel. I've just been at the gym. It is fair to say that I walked out there looking like Apollo himself. I've been using the Pump Up pre-workout from Combat Fuel, been putting in there a little bit of the old regular pre-workout too. And it's actually my first time in the gym for a few weeks. I've been buying little bits of kit here and there and stealing bits of kit to use in the home gym. And I've just been busy, so I haven't really had a chance to get down the gym. But I went down there today, and it was glorious, a gratuitous hour of buys and tries. None of this mincing around with your full body movements, just some good old-fashioned bicep curls and tricep pushdowns. It was awesome, and it was made better by Combat Fuel. I did get super good pump. The reason I really like the Pump Up one is because, as it says in the name, gives you great pump, but it doesn't blast my head off too much. I've used pre-workouts in the past where, don't get me wrong, you have a great workout, but then it's like you've come off the back end of a 5-day coke bender, which isn't ideal. I mean, if you're going to go through that, might as well do the real thing, innit? Not that we'd ever encourage that on the podcast. But Combat Fuel, guys, check them out at Combat Fuel, combatfuel.com. If they've got them in stock, I recommend as well the Mountain Joe bars. They are absolutely turbo essence, and that is a RoboGen. So there you go. All right, today's guest, like I said, he is an old mate of mine. I think I mentioned it on the podcast before. I went through, as a lot of people do, after finishing with the forces, I did a few years on the circuit. I'm not sure if the boats count as a circuit, actually, but that's a topic of discussion. We basically went out and protected ships from pirates. People say pirate hunting, but there's nothing hunting about it. We weren't hunting pirates. We were on a ship in case the pirates came to do the hunting. But you know what? It was an absolutely awesome job. Met some great people, and one of them was Paddy Doyle. He served in the Irish Army. Bet you never would have guessed that off the name. He's worked all over the world doing close protection, that kind of security work. He's a really funny bloke, and one of the most unique experiences that Paddy's had, which is something that I'm sure he would not wish anybody in the world to go through, was he was in Haiti during the devastating earthquake there, which killed hundreds of thousands of people. Paddy was right in the middle of it. We're going to talk a bit about that. But he's just a great bloke, and I'm really, really happy to have had him on the podcast. And you know what, guys? If any of you are thinking out there about starting a podcast, fucking do it, man. Because it's a great excuse to chat to your mate for a couple of hours. And like, if they're getting a hard time off a missus, they can just, look, I'm doing a podcast. So there you go. Start a podcast and talk to your mates, or just get on the mate. Just get on the phone. Just get on the phone to your mates. Come on, what have you got to lose? I really enjoyed this chat with Paddy. I hope you will do too. Please give a very warm welcome to Mr. Paddy Doyle. Paddy, yes, welcome to the podcast, mate. This is great success. We've been trying to get this to happen for a while, but you have other commitments, like very selfishly having a family and stuff.
Yeah, very selfish, guys. But mate, great to be on the podcast. Big fan. I know it sounds a bit cliche, but I actually am. So good to be here, mate.
I'm a fan of it too, mate. You don't have to say it. So people know that basically we met. Well, actually, you know what? I will give people a little rundown about how we met, but then I don't really want to go into that. Because I do want to get into your background a bit, because we haven't had anyone from your background on before. Leprechaun, professional leprechaun assassin.
You couldn't even go 2 minutes.
Shut up. You know what? I'm just bitter about the rugby the other day, mate. Honestly, I'm still bitter about the rugby. That was a fucking that was painful to watch. But yeah, so Paddy and I, people listening, we did the ship security together. And people always think like, wow, what was that like, battling pirates? No, it was more like me and Paddy battling our livers like around the world. But mate, give us fill us in on like where you grew up, first of all. Where you grew up, what kind of childhood you had, all that kind of spiel. You know the score, you listen to the podcast.
Exactly, guys. I didn't have such a privileged childhood as yourself now, but nonetheless, it was.
Because we had electricity.
So I grew up in the southeast of Ireland in a county called Waterford, countryside kind of childhood. So quite sheltered, really. I mean, it was just your average childhood. No major hardships. Parents worked hard. Santa Claus always came every year. It was just myself, my sister, had a couple of mates living in the nearby, and that was it, mate. Just kind of typical childhood, running around fields, playing cowboys and Indians, all that kind of stuff. So
that's not appropriate these days, mate. We're about to get you cancelled for saying that. Cancel mob will be coming for you. So when you were growing up, then did you have any designs on a military life?
That's a good one. I inadvertently, yes. So my granddad used to work for the Department of Defense. He was in the army for years, but I mean, back in the days when the rest of the world was at war and Ireland declared an emergency. So he served in the army back in the, I think, kind of mid 40s to late 40s, something like that. And then years later, he got a job from the Department of Defense to be a caretaker of a fort on the coast of Wexford. You know the fort from, I think it was a movie around 98, The Count of Monte Cristo, with, what's his name? Guy Pearce, the Australian actor. So in the opening scene, that's the fort in the in that movie. So the army used to use the fort, and the reserves used to use it for camp in the summer times. And so I spent my summers down there. I was just you see the cav rolling in and soldiers marching around the square, and I just was like a 4-year-old marching around behind them, and that was kind of where it started. So that was my interest in the army. Disappeared for years until I joined the reserves when I was in school.
What was the reason behind that?
Why did I join? A couple of the lads were joining. That was it. It was actually, and to be honest, mate, it was actually the Navy reserves. So it was a couple of lads were like, go on, let's go up and see what this is all about, and joined the Navy reserves. I think we definitely joined underage. I was about 15, and one of the lads was barely 14. But they still this is like mid 90s, so they were just kind of happy to get the numbers, because everyone was going to the Army Reserves, and that was kind of where it started. So I was in that while I was in school. Probably should have just concentrated on my fucking studies rather than marching around on a Wednesday night and playing with guns on a Saturday morning. But that was where it started. Then I transferred over to the Army Reserve once I was coming to. I was about 18. I knew I was going to join the Army by then, and said, "Fuck, I better transfer over and see what they do over there." And joined the Army Reserves for a year before I joined regular service.
Is there like any animosity in the Irish Army towards Britain?
Do you know what, mate? I'm out so long. I mean, I'm gone a long time. Mine was a brief career in the permanent defence. They call it the Defence Forces here, so which seems to be the way you guys are heading. But it's. Yeah. Is there animosity? Not like it used to be. Like, I have mates that are ex-para engineers, ex-Royal Irish. Couple of them went on and became officers with the Royal Irish, and they're from Southern Ireland. They joined up at a time when, all right, so I suppose you could divide the 90s, everything kind of pre-Good Friday, and then a couple of years after. It was this kind of. Yeah, it wasn't talked about, but so many Southern Irish lads joined the British Army over the years. So coming back to your question, animosity, I would say for the most part, it's kind of like, I'd say no, first of all. There's not with the lads I know. But again, there's a kind of an institutionalized thing. So if you were 20, 22 years with the Permanent Defence Forces here, it's not something you'd talk about. But then so many lads left the Defence Forces to go and join across the water. And there was a time when, it's a very modest-sized Defence Force here. So it's like between the Air Corps and their aeroplane and the Navy and the Army, there's probably about 11,000 in total, if even. And the attrition rate is quite poor. So back in the 80s, the recruitment was only once every 5 years.
Wow.
So lads were like, fuck that, I'm 18, 19, 20, I want to soldier. They're telling me to come back when I'm 22. Yourself when you're that age, going to do what you're going to do. So a lot of lads either joined the French Foreign Legion or went across the water or up north and joined up.
You ever attempted to do that yourself?
Regretfully, I didn't do it. Yeah, should have done it. Yeah. Anyway, we all have our regrets.
We all do have our regrets. But what was the reason at the time? Was it something you didn't think about at the time, or something you decided against? How did that come about?
I'll be truthful, mate. I went down to Limston and I failed, and I didn't pass the prelims when I was down there. That was around 2003. So I I decided to venture. A friend of mine was in New York and said, "Come on over. It's brilliant over here. There's tons of work." So I decided to go traveling. I really wanted to. When I was young, I really wanted to soldier. And even in my kind of after I left the army, I was a little bit disillusioned. Like, so, Irish Army it's UN missions, but they're so rare, and at the time they were so hard to come by that you had to wait until your battalion or regiment was called up. And that could take kind of an average of about 3 to 4 years, if memory serves correctly, because it had to kind of basically go around the different brigades and so on. So everybody got their crack of the whip of 6 months overseas. Big missions hadn't really popped up at the time. They have Syria, they had Liberia back around 2005, 6, 4, 5, 6. So they weren't really happening. It was Lebanon. It was South Lebanon or Portage Prison, where all of the provos were kept. That was it. You had prison duty, and you had South Lebanon. They were the two. So I wanted to travel, get out to the world. Went across the water.
You did go to Lebanon, though, didn't you?
I did, mate. Yeah. So I went to Lebanon in 2001. I think 89th Battalion. Yes, 2001. Fantastic experience. Again, slightly different. I mean, I've spent the last 15 years or so working with lads like yourself, working with tons of guys, ex-British forces. So I have a really good understanding of your soldiering mentality, very similar to our own. The only difference being is that our missions are predominantly either peace enforcement or peacekeeping. So you don't really, be honest, mate, you don't really grit your teeth. You'll hear a few stories of, I use the term close contacts or close calls, but from the lads I know down through the years, you're pretty much, you're going to go out on tour and you're going to come back in 6 months with a suntan, and that's no disrespect to the service of the lads that are in the army now, but that's the truth of it. If you wanted to kind of get really in the thick of it, it was go across, join the British forces, and if you, I won't say if you didn't, but you're not going to end up drifting past peace enforcement at the most. So always the risk, of course, that something could happen, but not along the lines of what you've done.
Did you realise that, though, at the time? Because obviously, like you said, you worked with a lot of people who have been in the British Army since then. So obviously you've heard, stagging on a bridge wing, spinning some dits. You've heard a lot of stories. So I imagine over time that's probably grated on you more than maybe it did do at that. Because until you know, you don't know, do you? Because now I have it with this podcast. There's a lot of opportunities now that I hear about where I'm like, what? I could have done that. I had no idea about them. And it's a regret now, but then when you look back at the time, you actually had no idea that was an option available to you.
Yeah, it's true. And I think on one of your last podcasts I listened to, it's like if you could put the mind of a 35 to 40-year-old ex-soldier back into the body of a 20-year-old, the decision maker would be completely different. I probably still would have joined up back home here if I had that option. And yeah, you're right. You don't know, do you? I mean, I remember the night before we flew out for Lebanon. I mean, it does have that feeling of, the lump in your throat type thing. Jesus, this is happening and I'm going. And what's more is to put some context within South Lebanon. I mean, from I think 78 up to 2001, there was up to about 85 soldiers who'd lost their lives in the course of their duties. So, I mean, Irish soldiers in South Lebanon. So I mean, it certainly when they went out there first, and it was, and through the 80s and up to the late 90s, it always had its risks, and it was a dangerous mission. So I would have worked off that premise, but we were coming to the end of Israeli Defense Forces occupying the south. The blue line had been established by the UN, so our job was to patrol and maintain the blue line. So you do have that feeling of, Christ, will I get back in 6 months? But I think, I suppose as the podcast goes on and you bang out more questions at me, you'll see, at this stage at 40, how I've kind of come to the conclusion it was, you were always going to get home. Yeah, there was always a risk, but you were always going to get home, really, to be honest.
Yeah. So going back to that then, like, obviously it's probably your first time in the Middle East at that point, because for a lot of people listening that have been to the Middle East, it's always been you've gone there on a bit of an offensive footing, in a sense. You knew you were kind of going to get into things. What was it like going there almost in a sense of you're the kind of like or you're supposed to be the kind of the impartial people keeping two people aside. That must have been quite an interesting perspective to give you of the people in the region.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, there was was it UNIFIL, United Nations International Force in Lebanon. It was comprised of several different nationalities, Ghanaians, Norwegians, Danes, I think. So there was, but we never really bumped into one another, as it were. We just patrolled our area of operations. I think that Irish soldiers did have a certain, because of their peacekeeping background, and also predominantly an agricultural background as a nation, built rapport up very quickly with the locals. So we were quite welcomed in South Lebanon, and it was only by engaging and building that relationship with the local population that even Hezbollah, your patrols could be stopped from time to time. Hezbollah are just kind of, they're exercising their strength, their influence in the area. But they knew the Irish, and there was a kind of, we know what you're about. We'll just coexist here and maintain this peace, which, when you think about it, only lasted up until before 2006. So there was like 5 years by the time we pulled out in 2001. But I hope I'm answering your question there, guys. I'm not sure if I've waffled on, mate.
I'm not sure really, mate. I had a drink on the weekend. I'm still pretty foggy. So I just finished the can of Monster, and Peter just brought me in a shout out Striker Coffee, lads. I'm still working through this bag of this coffee's called Door Kicker, so I might go off on one in a minute. But no, thing is, mate, like it's very hard to put answers to a lot of these questions. That's why I'm a big fan of the podcast format to begin with, because I hate it myself. I've done radio stints and stuff before where you're on for 5 minutes and they'll be like, "What's it like to go to war?" Right, sound, and then you get in like 10 seconds in answer, and they're like, "Next question." So. The thing is about going to those countries, though, mate, as well, as like I said, you are a young kind of person to begin with, and it's so you go there, you take the experience away, but you don't unpack most of that experience until you get later on in life. So now you're older now, and you have your own experiences with family and stuff, but also you learn more about geopolitics on the way, and then you start to see everything in a different light than you saw it there. You took all that information away. But it's not something like, it's not, you go, you have this experience, and then that's the experience done. The experience keeps unfolding for the rest of your life, even though you're not there, in my opinion. I don't know, I've had a lot of coffee.
I would say, I would agree with you for the most part, mate. And let me give you an example as to why. So we fast forward 2010. At this stage, I had, I kind of jumped around a bit until I realized in 2005 that, I wanted to get back to that soldiering thing. I probably left the army prematurely. I probably should have really put the head down, prepped, and gone across the water properly, or at least, given it a proper go. So I was kind of haunted by the time I was 25. I was like, I gotta fucking get back in. And then the whole PSD scene was kicking off in Iraq and Afghan. But being a 25-year-old, ex-Irish Army soldier with, 4 years of service, just about regular service. I was like, I just didn't have the network. So I ended up, fast forward, I did some close protection training in Denmark and Bosnia, and then inadvertently got a contract in Haiti in 2006, I think, 2006. And kidnapping was the big thing down there. So ended up down there for a few years, but I'll come back to that in a sec. But what I'm getting to is, was there in the earthquake in 2010, right? Shit tons of people fucking dead everywhere you look. But the Irish press, Irish media, the Department of Foreign Affairs, a lot of people trying to reach out, because I was one of the only Irish people down there at the time. So I ended up talking to this press release officer from the Army, from the Irish Defence Forces. And the level of death and suffering that you see, it's off the scales. It's off the scales. Our military is professional. It is a professional military. The syllabus is pretty much very, very similar to, or at least it was in my day, very similar to the British Army training syllabus. Waiting for the tanks to roll across ditches and in through fields, section attacks and so on. But so the medical training, the medics are trained to a high standard, even higher these days, I believe. And the engineers are trained to a high level. And it was like a perfect little mission for the Irish Defence Forces to contribute to a country that is, I mean, I don't know if you remember that that earthquake. You probably do, because I burned the year off you on a ship a million times. But it was a perfect little mission to send in support elements, humanitarian support elements from the Defence Forces. And he just basically told me, nah, never going to happen. Politically, they'd have no interest, and we don't have the money. And there's just not, and there's nothing in it for us. Basically, is what I took from what he was inferring. That it's just of no interest.
Yeah, sounds standard, mate. Let's go. I want to go back to those years though that you spent between getting back into it though, because like you said, you left, you went to New York, and then you got pulled back in. So I want to kind of know what was going on in those few years in between, and why was it that you couldn't kind of carry on doing that? Why you couldn't carry on doing that traveling lifestyle and stuff? Because a lot of people out there, they love doing that and they do it for the rest of the year, but something drew you back towards the military side of things. So tell us a bit more about that travel time.
Yeah, so I ended up, the New York thing wasn't long. It was under the 90 days anyway. I know that. Yeah. And then I came back and I did a teaching English as a foreign language course and said I'd fuck off to China for a year and teach English. It was one of the lads I'd served with in Lebanon had done exactly that. And he had been out in China and he was like, yeah, do it. You should do it. Definitely it's worth doing. And in relation to, I know you've touched on this before, when you come out of organizations like Defence Forces, armies, navies, etc., and you're young, for the most part, we're fucking idiots because we have no real plan. We have no fucking plan. And to be honest, I've landed myself at 40 just working off a kind of a script, like just a sketch really more than an actual plan. And so I bounced around. So I did the China thing, which was brilliant. That was a really great experience. Ended up, started off kindergarten and then ended up teaching in a university. And I remember interviewing. So you had to do all these, basically you were like a show pony. They just wanted round eyes. I probably did more non-PC. But they just wanted the Western face to be you're a product, basically, in a school or a university as a business. No formal third level education, no third level education at all. And I had to I was up against this lad from Philadelphia who had
what do you mean up against
for a job in a university. Oh, right. The guy was like third level. He had his degree in English. I had my piece of paper from my 2 or 3 weeks of training in TEFL in Waterford in Ireland, and they chose me. And it was quite disgusting, really. The chap was Asian American, so they just were like, we don't really want anyone who looks like us. We just want someone in there who can
good old white privilege, mate. Can't beat it.
It's horrible, yeah. But
you were saying that when you were getting paid.
Yeah, I know. Paid, Jesus, don't even talk to me. That was also another factor. So yeah, so that was the money was shit there. It was the experience. That was it. And
the experience of being racially profiled over somebody else.
So yeah, that was my experience in China. It was an incredible.
Hang on! You can't just gloss over China like that. I have more. You're gonna have to slow down here, mate. Look,
alright.
I'm gonna tell you now. We've got plenty of time today, and you can come back on the podcast. We don't have to have all the Paddy Doyle stories squeezed into an hour and a half.
All right, let's do it.
I want to unpack these. I want to know a bit more about. Because my knowledge of China is all based on the movie The Great Wall featuring Matt Damon. That's all I know about China. It's got giant... Well, you should watch it, mate. It's awesome. I don't want to spoil the plot, but basically, it's Matt Damon. For some reason, Matt Damon is on the Great Wall of China, and there's giant lizards trying to invade China. It's an amazing movie. People should go out there, take some kind of mind-altering substance and watch that movie. But enjoy them responsibly. But it's a mega movie. But I don't really know much about China. I have my issues with government anywhere in the world, and I'm not a big fan of the Chinese government, but I'm just not a big fan of governments. What did you kind of see over there in terms of like the surveillance state and people's rights and all that kind of thing?
Right. Okay. Well,
I mean, you've already mentioned that they basically took you on for a job because they didn't want to hire an Asian bloke. So that's not a really good start to their human rights resume.
Well, okay, all right. A couple of things I took from China. well, I didn't see any dragons per se on the. I went to the Great Wall and all that. Well, as Carl Pilkington says,
No Matt Damon.
No Matt Damon. But funnily enough, mate, Matt Damon has been in lockdown in Ireland over the past few months. Back when it all kicked off back in March, he was in lockdown in Dublin for a month, and last I heard, he's filming himself and making a movie down south here with Ridley Scott, about 2 hours from where I'm living. Oh. So yeah. Anyway, fun fact.
Oh, hang on. While we're on the subject of movie stars, this is weird, right? Ryan Reynolds and this guy from Always Sunny in Philadelphia have just bought Wrexham Football Club.
Fuck off! Really?
No, really. It's real. Like it's literally just happened. Like the world is mad, mate. The world is small and bonkers. Like, it's just like someone's like, oh, have you heard who's bought Wrexham Football Club? Well, no. Like, just thinking like, oh, it's going to be like an Indian billionaire or something like Ryan Reynolds.
Wrexham have a football?
Yeah, Wrexham Football Club. It's like, I don't know what the leagues are, but it's probably like, I don't know, like 5 leagues down maybe.
Okay.
But they've bought the club, mate. Like Ryan Reynolds.
Bizarre.
And he's not secretly as like a silent partner, as in like all over his social media. Hey, I bought Wrexham Football Club.
We're gonna make it great. Weird. That's you down at the main gates now with your little notepad, trying to, dish out a card.
Mate, you know what's funny though is every girl in town now is just going to be like moist, thinking like I'm going to be the one that bags like as if he might come here actually. Mickey Rourke used to come here to watch the rugby sometimes, so who knows? But as Wrexham's A-list, I feel I'm feel a bit peeved that they didn't come to me first. Honestly, I would have made them a great offer for the club.
That's random, mate. It is. That's. I don't really know what to say on that one. Like, fucking hell, you never know who you might see around town.
No, I just wanted to get it in there for the listeners because you never know. Just if you're out there thinking my football club's never going anywhere, you never know. You might get a fucking angel investor to come in like Ryan Reynolds and buy a football club. There's always hope. So yeah, get back to the Great Wall then, mate.
Right, back to speaking of football clubs. Do you remember that movie with Ewan McGregor, Rogue Trader?
No,
I don't remember the real the English lad who he was. Oh, no. Do you know what? We'll skip it, mate. We'll skip it. It's only a random story.
Hugh Laurie.
Oh, fuck off.
Ridley Scott. Ewan McGregor.
Ewan McGregor. He played some guy who basically shut down a bank back in the 80s or early 90s on the markets in, I don't know, South Korea or somewhere Asia, somewhere. Mate, do you know what? It's such a random story. We'll move on.
All right, sound.
I don't even have enough bags. Let's fuck off from that. Let's get back to China.
Right, okay, let's get back to China. Come on, tell us more about the surveillance state of China.
All right, okay. So okay, I can't speak much on the surveillance of it, but the discipline, fucking hell. Like, if you can imagine, 8:00 in the morning, you're working in Tesco's, right? 8:00 in the morning. I mean, if it was Ireland or UK, you might be running a few minutes late for work. Clock me in, I'm on the way. No. Doesn't work like that in China. The staff form up, literally, fall in, should I say, in ranks outside the supermarket. The supervisor or manager comes out with a clipboard, calls out their names, and they're all like, I'm not going to imitate. Managing it.
No, don't maybe you will get us cancelled for sure.
So yeah, they all get their names ticked off the list, and then all of a sudden they start their calisthenics, their fucking stretches, for about 10-15 minutes. All the while a hungover Irish lad is standing at the side waiting for the fucking shop to open so I can buy some orange juice or something. Yeah, so that was one thing I noticed was the discipline. Also the old people. It's incredible. So like my parents are pushing on now. My dad is 80. My mum is coming up on 68. And like they've got, their health issues, all your kind of normal stuff from, kind of the way we all generally people live their lives in the civvy world. And so they'll have their problems now, health-wise. Whereas China, it's mental. Like I know they've got this huge smoking fucking thing going on over there, but the old people are really fit. Like they're not fit like you're talking fit now, you dirty bastard. But
it's because they're doing fucking burpees before they go to open Tesco in the morning.
I know you're into grab a granny and all that, but anyway. But they're I mean they're out in parks and they're doing these fucking lunges and stretches and really just. I mean it's impressive just to see how many old people gather in the early morning. And come out for exercise and walking. where it's the younger, and I'm going back a while, mate, here now. I'm going back, Jesus, the Olympics
15,
were about
17, 18, 18 years, 20 years.
Yeah, just before the year of the Olympics, just before just before the Olympics, or the year before. So it's that was something I thought was pretty amazing. A weird one for you though. Went to the supermarket. I seem to be hanging around the supermarket a lot. But
Yeah.
Went to the shopping center, the shopping mall, whatever they call it there, and I was the only, Caucasian in the. I mean, I was kind of deepest, darkest China here. It was Hebei province, I think, or Shandong. I was in both, worked in both. But anyhow, walking around the supermarket, everyone keeps looking at me like I'm some sort of fucking rock star. Eventually, kids and their mums start walking up to me, and I had a shirt on. It was summertime, so sleeves are rolled up, and the kids start touching my arms and running off laughing. And
you enjoyed it.
They were, yeah. They were mesmerized by hair on arms. Like that was just. It was weird. That was.
You say, well, wait until you see my bollocks, you
Oh Christ! This is like trying to walk through a fucking sexual innuendo landmine. It's like a fucking
This would be a great part for me to bring in a sponsor, Manscaped, but I'm too hungover to do an in-ad commercial today, so we're just going to keep rolling. It's mad though, mate, because you know what? I saw the same when we were in India with the that ginger lad, because they weren't used to seeing gingers, and they would come up and touch him. And there's some parts of the world where it's just all right to come up and touch people, like the Irish church, for instance. but no, some parts of the world do seem to just think that it's all right to just come up and like touch you, and they're not being rude. But like personal space, that is a big thing with Chinese in like China, isn't it? It's like they don't have the same concept as personal space as like the West.
Yeah, and then not only that, I mean the whole spitting thing. I would imagine it's still pretty big now, but kids, right? The toddlers, they were in the wintertime, these like little jumpsuits, like a little ski suit.
Right.
But there's basically a slit in the ass of it so that they can squat down and go for a piss really on the street.
Wise.
Mm.
I mean, that's a fucking good. Think about it. It's a good way of getting shit done. What I don't get, right, when I see these chicks that go out on the piss and they're wearing like rompers and stuff. Right, that's fucking massive admin when you need to go for a slash.
Yeah,
dungarees and all that kind of stuff. It's like, it's just a lot of admin. I mean, to be fair, we're the ones, we're saying like, oh, so weird they got this slit that they can just go down and go to the toilet. No, that makes perfect sense. It wouldn't be very pleasant if you like sat down on a wet seat or something. But, but I imagine there's a way of zipping it up. I imagine their ass isn't hanging out all the time, is it?
I imagine Velcro could do well there. But at the same time, it's not really for the toilets, mate. It's for the street. It's on the street. You're walking along, kid stops and squats, and off you go again.
That's a weird one, though, because, like, walking down here today, I took a walk down here today because, as I keep saying, I was hungover, and I thought the best thing to do would be to go and have a brisk walk for an hour and a half to get down here. And obviously on the way, I had to stop for a couple of peas. Now, because it's in the countryside, there's absolutely no drama with that. But if I'd have been walking through an urban centre, then all of a sudden what is totally acceptable in the countryside now becomes unacceptable. And I'm all for, like, if I lived in a town, I wouldn't want people just whipping it out and taking a slash outside my house. But at the same time, when's the last time you see, like, unless you're talking shopping centres and stuff now, there's no public toilets and stuff anymore. And I think it's bollocks that you get like town councils and stuff fining people for taking a piss in towns when they're not providing. Like we all have to go to the bathroom. Like that's one thing every human being in the world has in common is we have to go to the bathroom. So when you're not having public bathrooms, because they take them away and they'll be like, oh, it's because skagheads come in and use them. But then they punish you then for having to do what is perfectly natural. What are you supposed to do? Just shit yourself.
Mate, I must be getting fucking old or something, like, because I totally disagree with you. You have to. I mean, look, I get it. Back in the day, who literally gave a shit? Like, you just did whatever had to be done. I remember being in DC and I went for a quick slash down a fucking alleyway. And next thing, 2 police cruisers pulled in, and I was cuffed. And they were like, "Have you anything sharp in your pockets?" My passport's in my right pocket, and he goes, "Oh, you're Irish." And he said, "Hey, Jim, he's Irish. He's Irish." So. Like, that was my last experience of taking a piss in an urban centre or an urban area.
I'm not saying you should do, mate, but what I'm saying is there should be like things provided for people, even if it's just a trough somewhere. There should be something provided for people, because otherwise, like, if you like, it's something that you can't, like, you can, for instance, not speak. You can make the decision to not speak. You can't make the decision to not piss, right? So if a council has taken away all the places to do that, like, especially now with the whole COVID thing, mate, because like gone are the ability to just nip into a place and just go, I'm just going to nip in here and go for piss. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's another thing as well. I think back in the day, I used to have the old thing of like, you just go into a pub or whatever, and you go just stick a quid down on just walk past the bar, stick a quid down in the change thing or whatever, and just go take a piss in and out. And now people are like, you can't use the bathrooms unless you're a customer and all that stuff. And it's like, and then there's all scene then, because you're like, I just really need the bathroom. And then I'm like, all right, fine, I'll have a Diet Coke, which you then just leave on. Ridiculous.
I've done that all my life, mate. I swear to God. Any long drives, I'll hang on, unless it's like I can pull into a fucking, the dogging area or something, and just go for a quick piss and get the fuck out. Like, I would go into a pub, and I would buy, always the same, like a Club Orange or one of these, just buy a fizzy orange and go in, take a piss, take a swig out of the orange, and then fuck back in the car and go. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just maybe it is I mean, I get where you're going with the accessibility of toilets and so on. I don't think it's a major issue in Ireland. Toilets in supermarkets and stuff like that. Public toilets in the fucking 80s. I remember People's Park, and if you're, in the park and you're looking for a slot, hated going in there, mate. It was like being sent into a horror house. You always had some fucking wino going, hello. It was dodge. But all parks are fucking dodge at a certain stage.
I go to the ones on the state beaches in California, and they're the ones, they're metal ones and stuff, and they're always covered in shit. And I'm like, how are you missing the toilet pan? Like, how do you miss a toilet pan? That's what I don't get, because I'm like, they're narrow stalls. So if for you to have shit on the side of the thing, like, where's your arsehole? Is your arsehole on the side of one of your cheeks or something? Like, how are you missing the pan? I don't get how people manage to do it, mate.
I mean, it beats, inviting over mates that you've worked with, Irish, ex-British forces, squaddies, to your house, all dignified, having dinner, drinks that night. He wakes up in the morning and goes, sorry, mate, I pissed the bed.
I did do that today. Who did that?
You don't know him. You don't know him. He's another walk of life, but ex-para anyway.
I mean, I have done. I'm not gonna lie. That has happened in my life.
All done it, mate. We have all lived, shit the bed metaphorically for some.
Yes.
But yeah, no, I get where you're going with it. I get what you're saying, but yeah. I mean, it's not I don't think it's a major thing here in Ireland. I think I've been way too fucking... So you mentioned nightclubs about 5 minutes ago. I'm like, what the fuck are those? I can't even remember the last time I got to a nightclub.
It's been a while. Mate, it's been a while for me, though. It's been a while for everyone. Been a while for everyone going to nightclubs, mate.
Yeah.
And it doesn't... I'm hoping now that sniffy Joe Biden is in the White House. I'm hoping now that nightclubs and stuff are going to be able to open again. Because I miss them, mate. I'm missing, that's the biggest thing I'm missing this year, and it's at the point where maybe I'm okay with a few people dying for me to go clubbing, Sorry. I'm not okay with that, obviously. But do I think about it? Yeah, I do think about it. Sometimes we're all pretty, when we all have our little selfish thoughts. So any other thoughts on China, mate, before we move on? Oh, hang on. No, the spitting thing, right? What's that like? Because the spitting thing back in the day, in cultures like Western cultures, it used to spit for against bad luck. So if you said to me something like, "Oh, there's bad weather coming," I'd spit, as trying to ward off bad luck or whatever. Like, hopefully my house doesn't get blown down. Is that what they're doing there, or is it literally like when you see little chavs around? Because there's a lot of chavs do a lot of spitting,
and there's plenty of chavs spit here. I think the spitting thing, it probably, okay, let me flip that for you a bit. Went to visit, one of the English students wanted to go, will you come visit my family? They'd love to meet you. So I was like, fuck it. So we hopped on a bus, went out to the countryside. Here we go again. Out to the countryside, met granny, granddad, the uncle, Jimbo, the whole shebang, met they all called over. And I had a cold at the time, or probably SARS, I don't know. But I took a tissue out of my pocket, blew my nose, And what did I do with the tissue? Put it back in my pocket. Granny starts laughing. She's like, I said, what's she fucking laughing at? Like, I blew my nose. What's it? So the student, he spoke to his grandmother, and I said, what did she say? He started laughing, kind of sheepishly looking at me, and he says, she thinks it's disgusting. She thinks like you should just blow it out your nose on the floor outside, basically. Now, you're not going to blow snot on someone's kitchen floor or sitting room floor, but would rather, like what you've just done is absolutely deplorable. You've blown snot into a paper and put it in your pocket.
She has a fair point, mate. Yeah, like but it's a funny one, isn't it? Again, because like we're like most of the time, if someone was walking down the street and they blew their nose on the street, you'd be like, "Oh, it's disgusting." But you're watching football and someone does it, you don't think twice. A lot. Well, some people do, obviously, but a lot we don't really have that much of a deal with it. Like if I go for a walk and it's raining, I'm not going to bother wiping my nose. I'm just going to blow it out my nose. So but we have like this thing of like some situations is because here's the thing: when I've got my jacket that I wear for going walking in. If I need to blow my nose, I'm pulling a tissue out of there. It's probably been in there for 3 weeks and I'm going to use it again. But on the other hand, I think I have a pretty good immune system. So maybe my system is working.
Yeah, like if you think about it then, farting. So like, I mean, if you're with a bunch of women and you fart, depending on how much they like it, they're probably not going to really find it very funny. Do it with a bunch of mates. I was like, oh, fucking who did that one? It's a completely different perception, and it's.
I'm starting to not enjoy fat people farting anymore, mate. I think my sense of taste has got better as I've got older, and I really I really don't.
Oh, you need to get a dose of COVID, mate. You need to get some COVID, lose the taste.
Well, you know what it is though, mate. I've not been around, like, even though I see obviously mates now and again. Like once I broke away from that culture of being around people all the time, like now I don't really kind of like now I'm like I take it personally if someone doesn't leave a room to go do it. I don't want the fragrance, But
yeah.
I was just gonna say on that the one with a whole like the like hanky in the pocket. When I came down here today, so I walked down here. Then there's a little shop down the road from the studio, so I went to get a couple of cans of Monster. Other fucking terrible beverages are available. So I went down to get a couple and I was like, oh, I need my mask. Fish around in my pocket, which is full of hankies, everything else. Find a mask that's been in there since probably the beginning of the pandemic. And all of a sudden, I'm okay to go in the shop. And like it hit me earlier, right? You could be someone that takes care of yourself every day. You take all your vitamins. You go and get exercise every day. You never touch the devil's dandruff or any other... Or anything else. Or you never drink alcohol. You never have got McDonald's. Never nothing. But you can't go in a shop without a mask. Or you could be a wino who drinks every day. You're a heroin addict. You do all this stuff. You go to a shop, realise you don't have a mask, see one outside on the pavement that someone else has had, put that on your face, and you're okay to go in the shop.
One of two things was going to happen on this chat, guys. We were going to go down the Brexit road, or we were going to go down the fucking COVID road, right? So we chose COVID.
I forgot Brexit had happened, mate.
First of all, I'm delighted we didn't do Brexit, right? So that's fucking brilliant.
No, we're going down that one now. I'm going to put it on the agenda.
Right, so, all right, let me drop one on you. I got COVID a month ago.
Right. Are you still alive?
And I'm still alive. I have no fucking clue how I got it. I work remotely, mate. So safely tucked away here in an office at home since last year, over about a year and a half now. I got fucking COVID. And the weird thing was, the only reason I went for a test was because I lost the sense of coming back on the farts. I lost the taste of, I lost the sense of taste and the sense of smell. And that fucking scared me. Day one, it was like, okay, it's maybe I'm a bit blocked up, whatever. Day 3, day 4, it was just getting weird. So, I opened up a bag of coffee and Starbucks. Boom, plug. I got paid for that.
Other coffees are available.
So, opened up a bag of Starbucks. I put my fucking nose in. Couldn't smell a thing. Something's wrong there. So that's why I went for a test. The testing system in Ireland pretty robust. They have a good system in place. Got a text the next day after I got back from a run. I got a text. And it said, you were positive. So turned out, long story short, we'll fast forward the last 4 weeks. A little bit sick, bit of tiredness, but nothing major. I think I'm just kind of bored with life at the moment with the whole lockdown thing. But my daughter had it. So I have a daughter since the last time I saw you, by the way.
I know.
So she's 3 this month. Yeah, she's 3 this month. She had it, but she was asymptomatic. I'd swear it came from the fucking the creche.
Probably.
But anyway, that's another story.
Well, if you're not seeing anyone, it's got to come from somewhere, isn't it?
Yeah, my wife even barely.
So it's probably. I mean, it makes. Yeah.
I don't know where it came from. So yeah, I reckon for the contact tracing side of things, it was that was a bit of it wasn't too bad, but constant calls and texts and blah blah blah. What people don't understand about COVID is the vast majority of us are fucking fine. We're grand, as we say in Ireland. You're going to be grand. The issue, it is the old people, right? Now, I've listened to your arguments on COVID. I agree with you to a large extent, particularly on gyms / mental health, right? I get it. I totally get it, because I think we're creating a problem by attempting to solve another problem, open, close, inverted brackets there. So I think mental health may, by the end of this year, with this, winter is in now, we're into the thick of it. And by coming out the other side in 2021, I think there's going to be a huge amount of mental health, if it hasn't begun already, and it probably has, mental health issues in the UK, and certainly in Republic of Ireland, it's already begun. So I think, I've agreed with you to a large extent, but there is a little bit of, I fucking sound like an agony aunt here, but there is a bit of duty of care, mate, to all our loved ones, to grannies and granddads and moms and dads with COPD, and it's a sneaky little fucking virus, because we'll be fine, but we'll spread it, and you don't even know you're spreading it. This is my understanding of COVID. What my GP has told me is it's in the first 24, 72 hours. It's your most contagious. Then the onset of symptoms kick in, and then 10 days after that, within 10 days, you're fine. So it means that I probably still have COVID in my system now. But if I went for a test, it'll read positive, but it's a false positive because I can't spread it. So it's the dominoes effect of who you're meeting and then who they're meeting. So I get the whole lockdown thing, but I do think that from what I've seen of what's going on, what Johnson's decisions are in the UK and our own here, I think there's a certain level of overkill, and I think that other problems are being created. And I say problems, I mainly mean mental health, where a little bit of fucking perspective, bit of common sense is needed. But when did that ever become part of forming a government? Yeah,
no, mate, I don't disagree with you. I went to see my dad on Friday evening. My dad's at higher risk, so when I went to see him, don't give him a hug, sit on the opposite side of the sitting room, all that kind of stuff, wash my hands. I'm all for all that kind of stuff. I just think there's halfway that can be met in between. And so like London Ambulance Service have said that they're attending twice the number of suicide attempts and successful ones every day, twice the number. Than in the last 2 years, it's doubled. They're going to 40 a day at the moment. And it's the knock-on effect for years that comes after that as well. Plus, whatever, if you have a bad economy now in the next few years, that means that it's going to keep going the next few years. For me, the thing with the gyms, it's more the thing of it. We need to be getting healthier as a nation, right? Because the fact is, if we were a healthy nation, most people would just shrug off COVID. The reason it is an issue is because people smoke and they drink and they eat shit. If we weren't doing that as a nation, it wouldn't be that much of a drama. Yes, there'd still be some people at risk because of either age or because they were born with certain conditions, but the majority of people would be fine. Mm-hmm. So my thing with the gyms is more, it's illustrative of our attitude towards fitness and health, which is we'll let some pills ventilator will sort it out, or vaccine will sort it out. We're all about trying to cure something rather than trying to prevent it. So that's been my thing with the gyms. It's not even so mental health. It's like, because it is important to people's mental health, or some people's, but it's more of a fact of like, we need to make health and fitness a priority in our lives. And all the way through lockdown, the one thing that we know can protect us is a healthy immune system. That's the thing we know can protect you. No, you're not allowed outside. And that protects you. No, you're not allowed at the gym. You're not allowed to do this. No, you're not allowed. We go against all the things. At the same time, yeah, you can still get your Domino's. Yeah, you can still go to Bargain Boost. Or you can definitely still buy your fags. Think about this. A respiratory illness right? Which kills people. It kills people, by attacking the lungs and stuff. That's why it kills people. You could still buy fags. You could still buy as many fags. I could go buy 200 fags today and sit there and smoke them all day, but I can't go to the gym. That to me is where it gets mental. It's like, look, we've had 7 or 8 months. We could have put out every day on the TV. The government could be putting out every day on the TV information about how to get people fit, information about how to get people healthy. We could be fucking making it cheaper to buy healthy foods and making it more expensive to buy bad ones. There's all this stuff that we could do, and instead they go, close the gyms. That's what gets me, mate. I'm all for taking precautions, mate. Like I'm all for social distancing. I'm all for I joke about clubs and stuff. It's not right time to have clubs open, but if you can have bars open, you should be able to have gyms open. And there does also has to be, we do have to remember that I think it's in the UK, on a normal week, like 7,000 people die in a normal week in the UK. When you're talking about a country of nearly 70 million people, a lot of people die every week. And that's something to remember too, that people like, one of the things I think 2020 has exposed is this, like, people like, what, wait a minute, we die. Yeah, mate, you die. People die all the time. But when there's so many people in a country, like in America, they're like, 200,000 people died of COVID. You're a country of 350 million people. 3 million people a year die in the US. Like, that's how many people die there anyway. So, I think people were so desensitized in the West to death that this is...
Yeah, but who's done that then, mate? Like, where's, a lot of this has been, let's be honest, has been media driven, right? So there's been
media driven,
huge scaremongering tactics. Like, I mean, I'm not going to see my parents this Christmas because they're petrified. Yeah. They're fucking, I feel like fucking Tom Hanks knocking around the place in Philadelphia. like, you just don't want to see me. And I don't want to risk it with them because... And again, it's all education, isn't it? It's like my GP, and she's very qualified in her fucking field. It's not like we have witch doctors here anymore. But like she said to me, I said, so could you guarantee me I can go see my folks at Christmas and everyone's fine? And she goes, they should be grand. They should be grand. And I think there was a light in there. They should be grand. Like. So to me, I'm not willing to risk my parents' lives on everything should be fine. No doctor ever wants to fucking sign off. Anyway, they're never going to say, oh yeah, and I'll put my license on it too. They're not going to do that. So I can't risk it. But my parents wouldn't, especially my mum, would not want to see us coming anyway.
Christmas is shit anyway, fuck it.
Christmas is shit. I fucking love Christmas. It's funny, I'm drifting on to nostalgic shit now, but like we have a 3-year-old now and Santa Claus is coming and it's actually going to make this fucking dismal 2020 sign off on a high note, mate. It really will. The missus is, we're expecting our second in January, so I'll be the only one partaking in.
You're just going to get twatted.
Alcohol. Just going to get fucking twatted with the fucking, with the Christmas tree, mate. And Minnie Mouse. That's about it. It's because coming back on COVID though, mate, it has been media driven, out of control once again. Sometimes I think the world is starved of a good fucking war, and I say that because the media is waiting for some big fucking event to occur, and in the meantime they're marking time and just reporting on pure shit. So like I would watch most of my news comes from Al Jazeera and a little bit of Euro News. And then down the line would be Sky, BBC Sky, and then for Village News, RTE here in Ireland. Since I found the likes of, all right, so I'll just concentrate on our own news outlet here, media outlet. It is, because since COVID, it's literally become Village News. It's just driving this fucking fear factor. We're a God-fearing nation, whether there's touchy-feely priests around or not. It's built into our fucking DNA through the Catholic Church probably, but this kind of fear element of, be careful doing that now, it mightn't work out for you. There's a fucking half glass empty thing in Ireland when it comes to pretty much fucking anything. And so we're driven by a fear element. Like, so for example, my wife didn't get COVID, myself and her daughter did. We're both fine. We both survived. I was never a question that was not going to happen. But her parents don't know. She doesn't want them to know because they'd be just shitting themselves until the baby arrives in January. And then, doctors have said there's no fucking proven anything with regards to pregnant women being in that high risk group. There's nothing been proven. Yeah. So just to relate to what you've been saying on the smoking and the gyms, and you can do this and there is no clear thinking from what I can see on what we're trying to do. The way I see it is either have look at the Aussies, right? They had practically a zero tolerance policy on COVID. I was working with an Aussie guy yesterday, and he told me that they locked it down for 4 months in all the major cities. Australia, population, I think of about 30 million or something in around there. And they basically pretty much almost eradicated reported cases of COVID until I think 15 cases popped up in Adelaide in the last week or so. But simply because of a kind of you have to apply a kind of an element of a police state. There was curfews, serious lockdowns, and that's how they got control. At what cost? Who fucking knows? But I would think that there has to be a knock-on effect. You either think about it rationally, make rational decisions, or just fucking do like fucking Sweden did initially and just fucking just let it run through the population, and you'll be saving on your taxes for pensioners.
Well, my thing on that though, mate, is that like, I know it sounds harsh, but I'm okay. Well, not okay, but I would rather lose a small percentage of the population to maintain the rights of a country because what I think of is I look at this disease, which is like admittedly terrible, but does not harm that many people in the scheme of things. It just doesn't. That's the truth.
Old people and lads with fucking, lung problems and shit like that. And then obviously there's kids as well, mate. You got I would share your views to a degree. But you got, when you think of like vulnerable kids with fucking born with all sorts of, disabilities and physical fucking, you know what I mean? Stuff that makes parents' lives an absolute nightmare their kid isn't going to live a normal life. Now they've got fucking coronavirus, and now they have to, it's all lockdown and keep John, Michael, Anne, whatever, protected from this virus. How do we do that for their already fucking, disabled kid who's highly vulnerable if he or she gets this virus? Now they've got this added stress, mate. So I can only agree with it to a point, mate.
But the thing is, though, that stress ain't going anywhere because Corona's not going anywhere. Correct. That's the thing. It ain't going anywhere. Like, this is the thing. It's not going. It's going to be around. So but my biggest worry is human beings. Human beings worry me a lot more than fucking viruses do.
Yeah, the pricks, mate.
So if you say to me, like, right, you're going to have to lose a percentage of the population in order for you to maintain your rights as individuals and your rights as a country, then that to me, well, why else that's what we go to war for, isn't it? That's why we have millions of people die in the wars, for rights. So maybe millions of people might have to die, and it's not going to be millions of people, that's the thing. But it's really weird, mate, especially this time of year, because we're recording this in November. We're like, right, let's go out on Sunday and remember all the people that died for freedoms. All right, awesome. Right, now we got to lock down the country so people don't die. And we're taking your freedoms. I'm like, hang on. I thought we were celebrating people dying for our freedoms. Well, we are. But then we can't have anyone else die for freedoms, so we're going to take your freedoms because we don't want anyone to die. That doesn't make any fucking sense. Like, some people, unfortunately, for us to keep freedoms as human beings, and I do believe very strongly in the road to hell is paved with good intentions. I reckon most people in the British government act with good intentions. Some of them don't, because that's the fucking truth. Most of them are. But they're not as clever as they think they are. And also people are they try and do the right thing, which often leads to the wrong thing. And when I'm worried about things getting taken away from us, so people are like, what are you worried about? Because this is a mad thing, mate. Literally, while this lockdown's going on in England, you do not have the right to protest. Imagine a year ago saying to someone in England, oh, by the way, next year you're not going to have the right to protest. Mm-hmm. You'd never believe it, would you?
No.
So it's not about exactly what happens right now, but a year ago you never would have seen this coming. So where could we be in 10 years? Because that's my thing, mate. And it's like, you might be thinking in 20 years' time, I wish I'd just let grandma die because now me and my kids are in a fucking boxcar on the way to a camp. Not saying it could happen, but I'm saying it's something that, well, not saying it will happen, sorry, but it is something that could happen. No one growing up in 1930s Germany thought they were going to end up their life in an oven, did they?
No.
No one thought that, and they fucking did.
I see where you're going. I've thought about this as well, mate. Right. I mean, I can just refer to Ireland. And by the way, speaking of, you mentioned Remembrance Sunday. I saw that video. I watched it in full the other night. It's up on YouTube of
Which one, mate?
the piper who got basically fucking slammed to the ground by a couple of cops. Um,
Yeah.
I watched the full video because I wanted a little bit of perspective. I'm never convinced when I just see a snippet of something happening. I want to know the full story, really. Remembrance Sunday, it means different things for different nationalities. I mean, for Ireland, Remembrance Sunday was something that was never spoken about for decades, for fucking decades. And then you look at the amount of Irish battalions, regiments in the Great War, and the Irish contribution. I mean, I had neighbours growing up who were, they flew in the bombers with the RAF. There was a local priest, but a local priest. He was a Franciscan brother, and he had been a door gunner back in World War II.
Wow.
And incredible stories, like just an amazing man to know. So the Irish contribution to the wars over the 20th century, particularly world wars, has always been there. But because, again, Ireland and its neutrality, which I don't even want to go into, and that's another thing that kind of, has hindered the growth of the Irish Defence Forces for decades. We've played our part, and yet we denied it up until probably the last 15, 20 years that we now go to the Garden of Remembrance. We recognise the Garden of Remembrance, first of all, and that the president and the prime minister and whatever ministers go there. So, but coming back on the Piper and the protests and banning marches, it's a tricky one, mate. I'll be honest. After watching that video, I don't know if you've seen it. I can appreciate where everyone was coming from with regards to we're going to march up to the monument and remember the fallen. I get it. I respect it completely. And then from the cops' point of view, I see it from, well, I've just got a job to do. I was just following orders. Didn't we hear that one before, less than 100 years ago?
Yeah,
so
we heard that one.
it does start. We start drifting into I mean, we are living in the fucking upside down world at the moment. Like we're drifting into an existence, and it is just an existence, mate, because nobody's really living right now that I'm aware of, anyway. We're drifting into this existence where we're accepting, again, the greater good, but at the same time, at what cost? At what cost are all of these sacrifices? And the problem is, I hate this term, the new normal. I don't know if you use it in the UK, but in Ireland, it's like, it's the new normal.
I don't personally, but people do try and use it, yeah.
To me, it's a crazy term. I think we need to be really careful. Coronavirus has been a really good... I think it'll pass, mate. I'll give it a year. Get these vaccines. Wait until we kind of this whole COVID-19 thing settles down, as it were, and see what lessons can be learned. Are we going to learn any lessons, or are we as like, for example, Ireland? We were, as you well know, a very rebellious, extremely rebellious nation for a long time. But we were, we fought on the streets less than 100 years ago for our freedom. And the right to govern ourselves, and men fought and died. Now we're a country where it's just we fucking roll over for anyone, anything, anytime. There is no fight. There is no questioning. There is just acceptance. The British government would have a field day with the Irish population, because if they set, so with COVID, whatever parameters, restrictions have been set for 99% of the population is following the COVID procedures. If you were on the street and you didn't wear a mask, people would probably start clubbing you. It's just completely, we've the problem I have, or the question I'd be asking eventually, is at what stage is what's enough? At what stage is do we call it a day here, that we just become a police state and get it over with?
Yeah, and mate, one of the things you said is like the greater good. When I'm against a lot of this stuff that the government's doing I'm doing it from the point of view of what I think is for the greater good. So I don't have kids. I don't intend on having kids. And like what I worried about is the future it's not going to affect me, really, to be quite honest. It's not. So where I'm coming from about people's rights and everything like that is from the point of view of the greater good. So what they've kind of done is hijack this thing of, oh, well, if you don't do what we're saying, it's against the greater good, as if they have a proven model for. Because one thing is, nobody knows. So I don't know for sure what's best for everyone in this. They don't know for sure. So when they come out with this stuff like the greater good, they're passing it off as if they know with certainty that what they will do is benefit everyone, which they don't. Right? But everyone, I think, is coming from the point of view of, like, there are some people that are just in like, fucking Farage has come out from under his fucking rock again now. He's not in it for the greater good. He's in it for his fucking self, the same as he always is.
Same.
But most people, if you're saying, hey, I don't want masks, why don't you want masks? Well, because, one, I don't believe that they're proven to work, but also, I believe that having, like, it's the same reason that I don't believe in people wearing the niqab. It's because I believe that people are supposed to, like, we're recording audio only today, but we're having this conversation face to face because it's an important part of being human. When you start to dehumanize people, people become more aggressive towards each other. If you start to make people threatened, they become more aggressive with each other. Then all of a sudden, you've got a situation where both you and I have worked with people from Eastern Europe. You know, they're like us. But 20 years ago, they were filling mass graves with each other. I'd rather avoid that happening. Mm-hmm. Oh, well, that would never happen here. Really? Because it's happened all the way through Britain's history up until like a couple hundred years ago. So, you know, it could happen again. We both travel the world. I think we both recognise that living in Ireland and Britain, we've won the lottery, really, about where we live. So when I'm critical about the British government or European governments, whatever, it's because I appreciate what we have and I want to keep it. Like, it's not because I'm like, wow, what we have is terrible. I wish we were more like the fucking Congo. It's like, I love what we have. But...
Oh, what's wrong with Congo?
Yeah, but knowing, like... they do have mbongo down there, mate, which is a delicious beverage. But when you look at, like, history, because you realise how lucky we are to be in this period. And, like, when you look at the Second World War and stuff and you realise, you know, Britain could have ended up being invaded by Germany and be part of the fucking Third Reich. Could have happened. It really could have.
That's the thing. If anyone understands, like, I'm like you, mate. If it could choose a war for me, it probably would have been Vietnam. But at the same time, I absolutely devour World War history. Drifted onto World War One over the last couple of years. But yeah, people don't understand, and probably, you know, so many young people, British young people, don't actually fucking understand it. They want to do a geography/history lesson. How fucking close it all came to be. And it was right there on your fucking shores. It was right. It could easily have happened. And I've had Irish mates over the years, and I've been, you know, my trips over to the UK when I was younger. You know, I think, geez, they really do go all out on the monuments. You know, they really do go all out on monuments here. But you have to understand as to why, you know, why there are these monuments, or why, particularly for the Great War and the Second World War. Like, there's a reason why, and I think if you don't understand history, or if you fail to even appreciate it, you know, it's a fucking shame, because you're missing out on part of, and as much, probably not in an indirect way, Irish history. You know, we still don't, you know, understand how prevalent the First and Second World Wars were, particularly both wars, with regards to numbers contributed, and the amount of Irishmen who served. Probably a select few women, actually definitely women in the Nurses Auxiliary, I'm sure. But yeah, it's no, I kind of went on a rant there, mate.
Sorry, mate, that's what this podcast is all about.
Actually, and I'll give you a funny one. Pre fucking lockdown here, about 6 weeks ago, my wife's sister was over with her boyfriend, and they're about 27, 28. So I'm 40, mate, and I don't want to sound like an old bastard, but like I'm young at heart. But they were sitting over. I was having a few beers. The boyfriend, he was having a few beers, but he's into football. I'm not particularly a big footy fan. And it was like there was nothing. It was like that episode of Father Ted with Father Stone, the guy who goes on holidays and just sits there, you know. It's like, no, fine.
Again, like, it comes down to conversation with people. One of the great things about travel, one of the great things about the military, one of the great things about private security and stuff is you meet people from all these different countries. It's like, if you just got told, like, if you met someone that had never been anywhere around the world, and you told them, oh, there's this group of people, 75 years ago, this group of people, they used to round up other people, and they put them on a train, and they take them to a camp, and then they make them work, and sometimes they just execute some of them, and they rape some of them, and then they put them in a big chamber and gas them all, and then they put them in an oven and burn them all. 6 million of them. You'd be like, Jesus fucking Christ. And then if you didn't tell those people, like, you didn't tell them who did that, right? And then you took someone to Germany now, you go to a bar, go to a restaurant, go to a shopping centre, and then you'd be like, oh yeah, you remember those people I told you about that did all those terrible things? Oh yeah. Yeah, that's where we are now. Those people that just smiled to you when they gave you coffee, that's those people. You're like, fucking hell. People could do that. And yeah, they could. Like, you know, and this is a thing about, I love people. I think people are capable of such amazing things, but they're also capable of the absolute fucking worst. And I kind of like, it's nice in a way that people don't think that these things can happen to them. But unfortunately, that's one of the reasons why they do. Like, if you're like, oh, I'll never get fucking lung cancer, I'll just smoke all the time. Well, you're probably going to get lung cancer, you know? But if you have to acknowledge that these things, you have to acknowledge like getting out the worst out of people to get the best out of people. And I'm going to use that now as a little segue to, let's talk about your experience in Haiti. Like, because, you know, before the earthquake and everything, obviously, like you said, there was a lot of stuff going over there, kidnapping, all that kind of thing. I remember a few of the stories you told me, because that is a hard corner of the world. That's a place where there's just a lot of suffering going on. So just tell us a bit about Haiti when you first got out there.
Right, the reasons I went, first of all, just to kind of link between leaving the army and then this whole kind of, you know, close protection and then drifting into the world of security in general. I still didn't prove myself to myself. That was probably my big fucking peeve leaving the Defence Forces. I'd never been shot at, and I never got to fucking shoot anyone. Serious. I mean, I never got to test myself, and I felt that, and I really fucking, that haunted me, even in my, you know, going around Chinese supermarkets with hairy arms. Like, I wanted that. I needed that. I had to fucking experience it. You got to push yourself to the point that, you know, you've gone as far as you can go, and once you recognize you've gone there, you'll know it when you're there, and then you're kind of free to go home, as it were. It was something along those kind of lines. Well, I knew at 25, 26, I was nowhere fucking near it. And I needed to feel that and experience it. So that's what brought me out there initially. And it was such a random way I found the job. I found it in a newspaper classified ad. And it was in the Evening Herald, which is a Dublin newspaper. And I was reading the paper one evening randomly. Like, I would never read classifieds. I had no reason. I was working at the time. I had no reason to read it. So saw the ad.
I know who you're looking for in the back of that paper, mate.
Oh yeah, no, that's the wrong paper, mate. So anyway, I found the ad under security, and it said prestigious overseas contract. You need to be close protection qualified. SIA hadn't really kicked in at the time. The SIA license for I don't know if the Americans use SIA, but anyway. So that hadn't really kicked in at the time. And so there was no licensing, but I had done my CP training and I had my honourable discharge. I just took my fucking CV in. Fast forward was, let's say, on a Wednesday, and the following Wednesday I touched down in Haiti. It was as quick as that. It was it a dodgy contract? Nah. You know what, mate? From experience of chatting to other lads who've done the circuit, it was as dodgy as the next. You know, you took the money, you did the job, and that was kind of it. So that was the beginning of it. And then I got what I wanted out there over the course of on and off through 4.5 years. I got what I wanted. I got shot at. I got to get clients to safety, that type of thing. It all sounds silly, but when you haven't gotten your war, or you haven't been out, you haven't been tested, you want to know. What the way I saw it was, why did I go through recruit training? Why did I go to infantry when if I played it smartly, I would have gone elsewhere to signals or engineers or whatever. And why does anyone do it? Because you're all watching these fucking movies that are driving you to go and want to do these things and test yourself. And that's what I got in Haiti. And it wasn't every day. It was, this kind of fucked up, you fall in love with the country kind of thing. Little bit of that. Just they're infectious, some of these places, kind of want to go back to them, really. But it was a bit like that. I'm not going to give the cliche, I saw the humanity. I did, it was nice, but I didn't go out there for it. I got what I wanted. And that kind of brought me up towards 2010. I'd actually left security, got offered a position as a project manager for a telecoms company from Ireland. Random, right place, right time scenario. Most of the lads I'd worked with. And that was my exposure to the Eastern Europeans, to the ex-Legion boys, French Foreign Legion lads coming from predominantly Slovakia and Poland. And a couple of the Legion 80s babies coming from Ireland and the UK. The rest of the lads were ex-Irish forces, defence forces, and a couple of lads who were ex-British forces as well. And so that was fantastic exposure to other militaries and other ways of, like, for example, just kind of mental shit, like, where there could be protests. I remember when Obama was elected as president, he was president-elect, and the entire country went mental. Like our city, Port-au-Prince went crazy. So what I found was Irish and British lads just were on the same wavelength. And I found that all the way through the various jobs I've been in over the last, particularly the last kind of 12 years or so. Very, very similar mentalities. The lingo is the same. So our military language, hand signals, all that kind of stuff. We just took your manuals. We scribbled out the crown and stuck a harp on it, and used that as our training manuals. So very, very similar in that regards. And some really good French Foreign Legion guys. What I did find, however, but on a whole, was when things were happening, these protests, or there was gunfire, or there was gangs, and fucking the UN mission down there was in a firefight, and we were driving. There was kind of panic, miscommunication, erratic moves, lack of. And again, I'm generalizing, mate. I'm not disrespecting the Legion. I've worked with some really good lads out of it, but I just found that I didn't understand the thought process of what are you doing right now to get out of that situation. So it was different, the only way I can describe it, but it was definitely an education. And that kind of, I'd had enough though by end of 2009. I wanted to move on. I found myself in January 2010 as a project manager for a telecoms company at the top of the newest built building in the capital city, and directly over the fault line of the earthquake that was about to hit that city.
Before we go into that, mate, just tell us a bit more about what the city was like in terms of poverty and people. What kind of city are we talking about here? What can people? Because I know a lot of people won't really know much about Haiti. So, are we talking like a third world city here? Sewage in the streets, high unemployment, that kind of place?
It's exactly that. All your cliche kind of start of Black Hawk Down type stuff. You're not far off the mark there. It's that type of it has this kind of element of failed state. The rich get richer. There's the elite of the country who just fleece the fucking government, or fleece the wealth of the country to line their own pockets. Always did. A really colourful history with corrupt government, just absolute extreme poverty. Your pigs running through piles of shit. The stink. Sewage systems overflowing. Fucking just disgusting poverty. Yeah, that's the only way you could describe it.
And what kind of threats?
The main threats at the time, because it was the NGO capital of the world. So explain what that is, mate. Right. So I've been in the NGO world in security for the last while. So technically, I'm a social enterprise. But anyway, I've been working in that area for a while now, and they basically, it's a business, right? So they need to get donations from governments or government agencies. They need to get funded every year, just like your county council need the same budget, if not more, from the year prior. So countries like Haiti, they get saturated with these aid workers and set up camp, but not necessarily literally camp, set up apartment. And all these ads that you see on telly of the poor kid with the swollen belly and the fly fucking doing laps around his eyeball, like these, give £5, give $10, whatever it is. That money is not necessarily, and we all know it at this stage, but I've seen where it goes. Fraction is going out to the actual fucking people who need it. It is financing vehicles, drivers, house servants, apartments, salaries, per diem. So you have this on a grand scale, particularly in the capital city. Some NGOs will go down and work with the local population in impoverished areas and help set up schools and all that kind of stuff. Some of them will just kind of, they'll teeter on it to an extent, but are they having a direct impact? Is the vast majority of the money been spent on these people? Nah. That was why at the time it was the NGO capital of the world, and not only that, it was also a perfect country for kidnapping because what you had was these gangs that operated down near the airport. So for those who don't know Port-au-Prince, it's built between two sets of mountains. It was a city built for 400,000 at kind of by the 1930s, 40s, but now is home to over 2 million people. So if you can picture that, it's just the population density, everyone's just living on top of everyone in just absolute squalor. And so these gangs formed. And what happened was Haitians who tried to get into the US, like refugees and what have you, who were returned, may have made it to Miami, may have been detained by federal or whichever authorities and arrested, imprisoned. A little bit like the whole, the beginning of Scarface. The way they when Cubans came in, when Castro opened the prisons. It was a little bit like that. So you had people trying to get to the US because it's the land of opportunity, so on and so forth. And so obviously people will turn to crime. So a lot of these criminals were returned to Haiti, and nobody knew of their criminal past. So Haitian authorities didn't know that these guys were coming back in with criminal records. They would have contributed to gangs being formed, etc. You had two areas down at the airport, one called Cité Militaire, so like military city, and Cité Soleil, Sun City. And gangs operated out of these two, what's the right kind of townships, really, I suppose, for years. And that was where the majority of these gangs operated. They came out of the shadows, they committed their crimes, whatever, but they were well armed. They even were known for capturing weapons from UN soldiers. So they were arming themselves to the teeth, and it just became a really lucrative business down there.
All right. So talk us through the day of the earthquake then, mate.
Yeah, so I was back. I'd been home on annual leave for about 10 days, got back out. I was there about 5 days, and I was thinking, fuck, it was going to be my longest stint away from Ireland, which is almost a year. I've never been away more than kind of 8 months or so. So I was on the 11th story of an 11-story building, a brand spanking new building that had been built and earthquake proof, thankfully. Next thing, I just remember the ground beginning to shake. It was surreal. I won't kind of go into major detail, but I'll give you what it's like for those who haven't experienced an earthquake. And when I say earthquake, I mean in Afghanistan last year, you'll get a couple of tremors depending on where you are. You'll wake up to a little shake, but this was full on hardcore. The floor beneath you is moving in waves. The ceiling, the roof, it feels like it's going to come down on you any moment, and you just start making these split-second decisions, really. They say, get under a desk and all of this. I just didn't see the point in getting under a desk of an 11-story building. I didn't think that was going to be my best move. So I ran for a stairwell, got some of my staff with me. I got them, kind of tried to keep them in front of me to get out without not trying to make myself sound like a hero, but I was glad that I thought about. There was one staff in particular, she was wearing she was wearing strap-on heels, right? But I put her in front because she couldn't get her balance because of fucking stupid high-heeled shoes or whatever. The heeled shoes kept they wouldn't fall off because of the straps. I didn't have time to pull them off with my teeth, so I just kept pushing her in front of me until we got outside. But I could see going down the stairwell, like it literally was like alien invasion type stuff. Like there was plumes of fireballs going up into the sky, into a blue sky, which would soon become grey. And once I got out on the street, it was insane. It was just ashen grey. because of the dust from all the concrete, very dry type concrete that had collapsed. Car alarms wailing everywhere. Hundreds and hundreds of people screaming, mate, like absolutely screaming to the top of their lungs. I knew at that point I could get to a safe location. Though I wasn't working with the security lads at the time, I knew most of them. So they thought it was funny that I had left, and here was Paddy down with a shirt and tie, thinking he's a little business man setting up a call centre. But I still maintained friendships with the lads, obviously. And I knew where I could reorg with those lads. And I could see a number of their clients, the staff. So they basically work for a large telecoms company in the Caribbean, and they were the security detail for the expats who worked for that company. That was the basis of the security contract down there. And there was a number of those clients that were wandering around a little bit, and their families were also in a location that it was a compound type apartment block or buildings, 2 buildings built in a compound, but it had huge open spaces of gardens. So I knew that was going to be where everyone, for the vast majority, would try to get to. So to account for everyone. So started moving to that location. Couldn't see anyone from Adam. Didn't know where anyone was except to 1 or 2 of the people that come out of the building with me. Gathered them, started marching up this street. Well, mate, it was probably the craziest stuff I've ever seen in my life. So you had dads carrying kids with arms ripped off, legs ripped off. There was one woman who reached out and grabbed my pants at one stage, and I looked down. And yes, it does have that kind of Saving Private Ryan, Gladiator, slow down, slow motion-y kind of effect. I don't know about full-on firefight or actually been in combat. I don't know what that's like, but I know everything seemed to kind of slow down a little bit for me in this. This lady reached out, grabbed my pants, just kind of tried to grab my trousers, and when I looked down, her entire kind of innards, her intestines, everything were just kind of poured out of her, and she was trapped under rubble, and she was just, you could see the life was fading out of her. I mean, the blood was running down the hill. And then later on, up that road, climbing over rubble, rubble is hard and jagged. Put my foot down on what felt like a really soft, cushiony feel, and looked down, and it was somebody's face. So, and they were dead. Obviously, I'm not going to, walk past. There's certain survival things kick in. My fear, right? My biggest fear is that I'm a coward, right? I think that's I think a lot of lads have that. I don't want to be known as a coward, or I don't want my mates to ever think I would, I'd leave them behind, or I wouldn't do something at a certain time. And I felt at that time I had to. It's not the army. I'm not backed up here. I'm not moving out in a section in a section strength or platoon strength here. I'm on my own, and it's going to be dark within 40 minutes. And I don't want to be running around like fucking Florence Nightingale trying to save people that I don't have the equipment to get to, and I don't have the med kit to use on them. I need to think logically about where I can get to with these 2 people in tow, clients, family members, and link up with familiar faces and be somewhere safe. So I did know other people who did the complete opposite and went out and were complete heroes, and were trying to pull people out of rubble and so on. But to me, at that hour, tomorrow was going to be another day with a lot of shit coming down to do. And at that stage, I just thought, right, I got to get somewhere safe. And the days that followed were, fuck, man, it was insane. So I basically went back to work for the lads. I made contact with my boss back in Ireland for the telecoms company and said, look, I'm staying on here. And, they were trying to arrange to get me an emergency passport and all this kind of stuff. But the next day I had a certain level of freedom. I decided the next morning I'm going to go to my apartment, which is about 10k walk away uphill. And I was going to head up there and see if my apartment was still standing. I knew the location. I'd known the city at this stage pretty well, and I knew that this was not going to be a time for kidnappers. This wasn't the country had been, the city was completely fucking destroyed. So to give you an idea of the scale of that 45 seconds of an earthquake, the presidential palace completely collapsed. So pretty much looks like Capitol Hill or the White House had completely pancaked. More than 250,000 people 250,000 had died in a minute, and that was all out in front of me in the city. So I knew where I was going. I could get to my apartment. But as I was making that journey the next day, that was where I started to see it all. The bodies, mate, it was insane. It was fucking insane. At this stage, there was no helis overhead. The first heli I saw was a Jayhawk from the Coast Guard, US Coast Guard, and a couple of Dofams within kind of 36 hours. And a couple of UN Hueys. That was it. And just to see the devastation, the loss, and we'd lost a couple of mates, I might add. So a couple of guys I'd worked with, civvy guys who were working for the larger telecoms company. They'd been really, one of them had been a good mate of mine. It really advised me on what I was doing, because obviously project management is not a fucking easy thing to do if you don't come from that background. So he was like a mentor to me. He had run the wrong direction. I had a coffee with him. I know I'm jumping around here slightly. I haven't thought about it for years, but I had a coffee with him at about half an hour before the earthquake. So we were down in the car park in the basement of the 11-story building. There's myself, an ex-Royal Irish guy from Ireland, and this guy from France. We're having a coffee and a smoke, chatting about Christmas. All's good in the hood. And then I was like, fuck it, I better get back to work. Go up in the elevator. 7 minutes later, there's an earthquake. 7 minutes later, those two lads were still down in the basement smoking fags and talking shit. The earthquake hit. My Royal Irish mate had run towards the exit, and he told me after, it was like one of those Steven Seagal movies where the pillars are exploding. And my French mate had run the wrong direction. He ran in towards the building, and basically a couple of walls fell down on top of him, and he was under rubble.
Obviously, there's like so much horrible shit that happened in that period. Did you see anything that kind of made you like, was there anything you saw that made you feel like better about life and better about humanity and better about, this shit can happen? Like, what are some of the things you took away from it? Was there any positives that you took away from what was a horrendous experience?
Yeah, I mean, there were, not for a while after. So I stayed on for about a week after, and then flew out to Jamaica and had a huge piss up in Jamaica with a load of lads that I knew. It was great, strippers, brilliant. Oh, yeah, class. Positives that you take away, yeah, there are. I mean, it's made me. That would have been one of the most significant events in my life, and to me, that was my war. As much as I've spent the last year or a couple of years since end of 2018 over and back from Afghanistan, that wasn't my war. It's been an experience there, and that's another story for another day. But Haiti was my experience of loss, and obviously unwanted loss, whoever wants loss, but you know what I mean, unexpected loss, death on a scale that I never thought anyone would ever see. And then your own mental resilience, which is limited, and you think you're gonna, fuck it, you see it, it's done, whatever, move on next, off we go again, and that's all. It's a fair play if you've got that mentality. I don't, and so it took a couple of months really to kind of, I know what you're asking me, and I am drifting a little bit. There was an element of PTSD, kind of crazy nightmares. You wake up, you can't breathe, that type of stuff. Run outside, dip your head underwater, come back to reality. It passed after a couple of months, but it passed kind of meeting up with mates and stuff like that. Positive stuff that came from the experience was I knew more about myself. I knew more about what I was about. And I think that's what began me on my journey 20 years ago anyway. Might have been very idealistic at 19, but they say beware what you wish for, don't they? I know your story, Gez, well, and I've read your book, mate, and it was an amazing read, and to kind of share that journey through pages, what your tour in Afghanistan, and the aftermath. So that was my kind of take. I learned more about myself. I learned more about mates, and you see people's humanity, which is important. I don't think you can dismiss it. And you see what people's metal to a degree. And I'm not talking about being Iron Man here. I'm not talking about I'm not affected. Fuck it, I don't care. I'm talking about you're affected, but you can still function when you need to function. We can all fucking take care of each other afterwards. But function when you need to function. I've seen people get tired, mate. I've seen guys get, they're supposed to be professionals, and get angry and tired and emotional. And I was kind of glad I didn't drift down into that kind of letting my lesser qualities take over, and just stay focused on what I need to stay focused on, which was ultimately get the fuck out of there. I'm not there to save the place. I'm not Captain Planet. I need
Captain Planet, you cunt.
Showing my age there, big time.
Yeah, fucking green-haired fucker.
So yeah, mate, that's what I took. I think I took a lot more about myself. That sounds so fucking selfish.
Nah, mate, that's how it is. Mate, I want to talk more about this. We're going to have to do another episode, which is always the plan. Anyway, because I do want to get more into this. I'm not managed the time very well today. But I do want to. I want to finish because I know, like, you've got your family now. You say you got your second on the way. So I think I already know the answer to this question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. What makes for a good day for you, mate? What makes for a good day and puts a smile on your face? And what when you go to bed at the end of the night? Well, when you think, oh, that was a good fucking day. What's that for you?
Oh, mate, that's what it's boiled down to now. I think my daughter and my wife been happy. Now it's easy to keep a happy daughter. It's very hard. It's very difficult to keep a happy wife. But you have, for example, right? I'll give you. The weather has been absolutely dire. Shock horror. Ireland has rain. Sunday the weather broke, and I insisted everybody put your wet gear on. Put on your Mac or whatever, and out the door in the car, drive off to the forest and get out for the walk. And we went out and we saw deer, and it's actually the wrong season to be walking through forests. It's rut season, not a good idea. But it was. I saw my wife just get. I mean, who wants to be 7-8 months pregnant? I'm pretty sure it's not a nice experience to be that big, and being cooped up in the house all the time, everyone under each other's feet. Just generally getting pissed off. To get out for a walk, mate, get out into the world and get the fresh air, the quietness. My daughter loves collecting stones. She fills her pockets with stones. It's just funny watching the shit that she does and what she comes out with. Everybody came back, from that walk for an hour and a half, and the mood was fantastic for the evening. And to go to bed and laughter in the house. My daughter feels safe and secure. My wife and myself are just. I mean, it's really important. I'm not going to drift into fucking marriage guidance. It's way too late in the day and I'm not qualified. But if you can, have that laugh with one another. I remember it as a kid hearing my parents laugh when I was in bed, and it gave me this kind of security and everything's okay with the world. I think I'm just grateful that we have a happy home, and that we have that. I mean, it's not easy at times. Everyone will tell you, mate. So don't get married. Don't do it. It's mental. But it's not easy. But to have a happy home and to know that and to appreciate it, I think that keeps me fucking happy, mate. And getting away from them as well. I need a break every now and then.
But bro, thanks so much for coming on, mate. Let's do another one soon. And been good catching up with you, mate. Really enjoyed this.
Likewise, mate. And look forward to whenever I catch up with you next, mate. And best of luck. Loving the podcast.
All right, bro. Cheers. Love you, mate.
All right, all of it. Bye.
Guys, what a legend Paddy is. Paddy, thanks for coming on the podcast, mate. I know you listen to the podcast as well as turning up for it, and I'm glad that you came on, mate. Really good to catch up. Anyone listening out there, especially you young ones, you really don't understand how fast time goes, man. Like, I think Paddy said at the beginning of the podcast, he's like, that's like the first time we text and stuff, but that's like the first time that me and Paddy have had a proper couple of hour conversation in at least 5 years. It doesn't seem that like that at all. Time really does go fast, guys. So make the most of it. See your mates when you can, talk to your mates when you can, and same goes for your family too, especially your youngsters out there with your older family. Go and check in on your grandparents. Well, maybe not check in on them now because you might kill them, but at least give them a call and see how they're doing. I want to say thanks again to Combat Fuel sponsoring today's episode. You can check it out at Combat Fuel. And also, as ever, massive thanks and love to the Royal British Legion. This podcast does not happen without them. They're in the notes, guys. Remember the old forewarned is forearmed. Is it? Hang on, that's the one. Yeah. Forewarned is forearmed. So you never know when you're going to need the Legion. You never know when your mates might or their families might. So get down there, spend 5 minutes, familiarise yourself with what the Legion do, and then you will have them in your top left for when you need them. Christmas is coming up. If any of you want signed books that have been written by me, Geraint Jones, then you can get them by dropping me a message on social media, or again, everything's in the show notes. And if you don't want them signed and you just want them bare bones, then you can get those from Amazon. That's all in the show notes. I got books about soldiering in modern times. I got books about soldiering in ancient times. Not that I was there, but well, you never know. Might have been. I do believe in the old reincarnation, but we'll talk about that another time. Audio books, got them all in there, guys. Got something for literally everyone. Right, today was episode 99, wasn't it? So I know there's some infanteers out here, me included. What comes after 99 is 100. So that's a big milestone. And this wasn't planned, but the way that it's going to work out over the next few episodes is we're going to have a bit of a running theme going, because we're going to really dig into Iraq at the height of the insurgency, Telekten. We've got coming up in a couple of episodes, we've got John Smith. You guys will know him as a hostile operator. He served with 4 Rifles Battle Group, who I would say bore the brunt of the fighting in Iraq, probably the heaviest fighting in Iraq, and I think you can make the argument some of the heaviest fighting, full stop, of the War on Terror. We'll talk about that, and we're also having, over the next couple of episodes, Frank Ledwidge. He's an intelligence officer, great bloke. We've already recorded these episodes, so I can give you the thumbs up on them already, because they're already in the bag. Frank and I are going to talk a bit more about the kind of like the strategic level of things, and then we're going to have John in to talk about the nitty-gritty, shooting people in the face side of things. I think you guys are going to love it, and yeah, I'll catch you next time. Love you, bye.
You told me not to worry, and you wouldn't break my heart. You told me you were sorry, yeah, my whole world fell apart. You said it's not my fault, and yeah, I've never done you wrong. I'm grinding to a halt, now I can see you're moving on. I promised I'd get better, and I told you things would change. You keep me to the gutter, yeah, I'll never be the same. I've got to let you go, now live your life and spread your wings. And yeah, you put on quite a show, and pulled the puppet strings. And are you sure that you don't want me? Remember all the pain, or maybe you should thank me. It's your loss and my gain. I'm leaving now forever, I won't hang my head in shame. But yeah, you've taken me for granted, and you should feel ashamed. You sold a dream to all of us, a dream that we'd all die for, a reason for us all to live and something we could fight for. I might just help a man up to his feet or hold a newborn, but no matter what I do, my hands remembering my rifle, yeah.
Life's hard, I know that, still wouldn't change shit. I wouldn't go back, yeah, I wouldn't go back. Feelings I hold back, memories fade, yeah, they go fast, yeah, they go fast. Good times to come and go, survive the highs and lows, just take it step by step, I guess, yeah, I suppose. Good times to come and go, survive the highs and lows, just take it step by step, I guess.